The ACOLYTE finally ended, and despite its failings when it comes to the writing, there appears to be a lot of discourse around the inclusion of two major Star Wars characters. Two characters that appear for a combined 15 seconds and have no lines. The first is Darth Plagueis, the man who trained and was later killed by Palpatine, makes his first live-action appearance here. But because this is Disney, his inclusion is superficial. There is no reason pertaining to this season's narrative as to why he is here. The only thing I can think of is that the writers are trying to imply that the Space Witch cult gave him the idea to pursue immortality through the Force, even if, according to legends, he was only a teenager at the time, and not a gangly old creature in a cave. There is no care in making sure his inclusion fits within the universe, and instead is presented as member berries to excite fans. What's he been doing all season? Just sitting in the cave? For some reason, he hasn't bothered to interact with Osha or Smilo Ren, making it look like he lacks agency. To say he's lurking in the shadows and biding his time only compounds the issue. He must have something to say, right? Otherwise, one of the most dangerous and mysterious characters in Star Wars has been reduced to a creepy goober in a cave that doesn't want to interact with anyone.
Did you ever hear the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise?
No.
The writers have no respect for pre-established stories from better creators, and all they can think to do is throw him in for a cheap thrill, a quick point and clap, to distract people from the slop. He was born between 147 BBY and 120 BBY, which at the most makes him about 25 years old during the Acolyte. He came to this planet, Baldemnik, around 50 years after the events of the show, and that was with his master Tenebrous, not because of Smilo and Osha. Plagueis' entire backstory is thrown into question by placing him here 50 years too early. 67 to 65 years before the Battle of Yavin, Darth Plagueis and his Sith master Darth Tenebrous are in a cave on the outer rim planet Baldemnik to examine its natural cortosis deposits. So he's been mining a finite resource for 5 decades before Tenebrous takes him there? Why bother crafting a good story if someone with more money and more power can come along, steal the ideas, and throw into question the validity of the original narrative?
This is a film about space wizards intended for children.
Yoda appearing is done for the same reasons. It means nothing when he shows up for 5 seconds in the final shot of the series. He should have sensed how so many Jedi have been killed this season, and that there's a big cover-up for Sol's actions. But no, they had to add Yoda to the list of dumb Star Wars characters.
Not if anything to say about it, I have.
What's the point of the word canon if, depending on what the story needs at the time, the canon can just change? It makes the use of the word obsolete. It doesn't expand the lore or recontextualize events. It's insulting amateurish writing that doesn't care about what came before or who built the world to allow them to tell their story. Canon is defined as a general law, principle, or criterion by which something is judged. If this categorization is thrown away, then how can we judge anything? Nothing can be held accountable, and is only reviewable on the basis of what is needed in the plot at that time. Nothing can be understood consistently if rules change from scene to scene. Canon is important. Not only is it something for the writers to stick to, but it also makes it easier for the audience to follow events, since they occur in a grounded and consistent way, even when the world is being depicted as fantastical. Canon's existence helps to immerse ourselves in a world as if it were real. But when people aren't where they're meant to be, or they're not even supposed to be born yet, then it's bad writing. Defending the inclusion of Plagueis or Ki-Adi-Mundi without considering the wider implications is naive. If we allow this change to prevail, then where do they end? What's to stop Disney from saying Anakin blew up the Death Star?
This is where the fun begins.
Demand more than a goober in a cave and the back of the head of a character you recognise. Demand more than the inclusion of flashing lights and the colour of certain lightsabers. Star Wars used to be about more than that. It was about the journey of characters and what they had to overcome, not the superficial elements that remind us of a better time. Those elements were there, but they were never the focus. Luke's new lightsaber in Return of the Jedi was a surprise, but not one that determined the excitement from the viewer. It was a cool change that was understood as such, because the real focus was on the character, the man who wielded the lightsaber and the choices he made. Now all Disney thinks it needs to be is a reference to another, better piece of fiction, or the reveal of a certain character, regardless of how much it makes sense.